Welcome to the fifth episode of the Honeypot Podcast for Sweet Conversations. We are available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Look for the Honeypot Podcast. I'm your host, Carmen Hendricks, and I took the lid off the pot today for a very special guest. Today, we are talking to author Sylvester Barzey, who was kind enough to join us today to talk a little bit about the business of writing horror. Today's show is sponsored by African Culture Love. Inspired by love and respect for African culture, it is a store that is influenced by rich traditions. Visit the store and be inspired at www.africanculturelove.com. Also sponsored by Unapologetically Me Teas, created to inspire you to be bold, be you, be unapologetic. Unapologetically Me Teas can be found at www.imunapologeticallyme.com. Now let's introduce today's guest. Sylvester Barzey is a father, a husband, a soldier, and an anything goes horror writer. He writes what he wants and does what he wants. He likes what he likes, and what he likes is horrifying. Pick up one of his books today. He can be found on Amazon, and there is something scary for every horror lover. Talk about being unapologetic. Welcome to the Honeypot, Sylvester.
Hey, thank you for having me. I might need to update that bio because I don't really do what I want. My wife tells me what to do most of the time.
I understand that. Well, tell us what an anything goes horror writer is.
Well, for me, I believe anything goes just means that I like to dive into different issues or tackle different topics because the horror genre, it's kind of got like set boundaries and set rules that have been established for like years now. But I want to do like different things, kind of like how Jordan Peele did Get Out. And although that, to me, that's more of a thriller, but it's still, it looked at the genre from a different aspect. And that's just the type of things I want to try and do.
I get that. So you've written several books. Tell us about some of the books that you've written. And out of those books, which one is your favorite?
Okay. Like this year was my first year like professionally publishing. So I wrote the first book in my zombie apocalypse series called Planet Dead. And that's a post-apocalyptic action comedy. So it's like a dark comedy, and I love that. But I was also lucky to be a part of a few anthologies, and one of the anthologies I was in is called Undead Worlds, and it had 22 different authors, and each of us had a story that connected to our main series, and mine's was Adam. And I think Adam is one of the best things I wrote this year, I believe. Well, except for Planet Dead 2, but that's not out yet, so that doesn't count.
When is that one coming out?
Planet Dead 2?
Mm-hmm.
Planet Dead 2 comes out next month, January, the second week of January.
We need to know when it's coming out so that when we do our podcast, we can tell people to be on the lookout for it. So make sure you know so that we can put that out there.
Okay.
One of the things that I like to do, I like to talk about you as an author, but I like to talk about you as a person because I want people to get to know you for who you are, your readers and your viewers and potential readers. So what else do you do outside of writing? What other businesses?
Right now I do like graphic design work, and I'm working on starting my own media company. It's going to be called Storyteller Media, and I want it to focus on helping new authors and even current authors, but more around like a lower price range. Because I know when I first started, I came in looking for covers and stuff, and just the whole system of being an independent author is just, it's not geared towards someone that can't shell out like 500 or whatever bucks all the time. So I wanted to do things like that would help people at least get their foot in the door and continue on up.
That's great. We talk about how the news influence us as writers often. So right now, what's going on in the news? We've had some several things happen over time, but what's going on in the news right now, as of today, is we just had a New York City bombing near Times Square. What do you think about that? What do you think about these bombings that we seem to be having? So we seem to be having a lot of them lately. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's terrible. The whole act of terrorism as a whole, whether it's domestic or foreign terrorism, is just it's terrible. And New York is my home. I grew up there, so when I heard that, I was freaking out, calling friends and seeing what was going on. And it's you never really understand what drives a person to do things like that. Like I don't see what you gain from it. Like it's not gonna change a system. It's not gonna all all it does is just bring about fear in people. And I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a crazy world we're in right now.
it is. I agree. They're saying that he had a low tech device on him, so I'm assuming that it was a suicide bombing. I haven't really gotten a lot of details because it's ongoing right now.
Yeah.
Um, but I do understand what you mean when you say that, because it is devastating. And then for you to be from New York, I know that was alarming. So everyone
Yeah.
in your family is okay?
Yeah. Everybody's okay.
Okay, great. That's awesome. When you think about some of the things that are happening in the news, how do you relate that into your writing?
I guess for me, like the news is a scary thing. You just sit down and watch the news for like 15 minutes and you already have your own little nightmares. So sometimes I pull things from the news or from society as a whole, like presidential candidates and things like that.
Mhm.
Like in my book, in Planet Dead, like I don't have Donald Trump as a character, but you can understand that he had some influence on the world because there's things in my world that we don't currently have. Like we do have in Planet Dead, there is a giant wall that blocks off America from Mexico, and then there's there's just a there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that are created by him, but I don't really name him in the book.
hmm I'm glad you mentioned him because, we have the election going on now,
Hmm.
um, where in Alabama, they have a Democrat, Doug Jones, and a Republican, Roy Moore, that
Yes.
are running for Senate. So, Roy Moore has the sexual allegations surrounding him. And then we have the Democrat, Doug Jones, which we really don't hear a lot about, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
he is the U.S. attorney for Alabama, who prosecuted the last two members of the Ku Klux Klan who participated in the 16th Baptist Church bombing that killed four African American girls. What do you think about that story? And would that be something that influences how you write some of your characters?
I mean, right off the bat, I feel like he should win this race. It doesn't. I don't understand how they're comparing it. It's like this guy that got accused of touching a little girl, and like I feel like you lose automatically with that. But it's weird how people look at politics. They don't really look at the person. They just look at the group that they're attached to, and they let that mindset just keep pulling them. So that's crazy. And
Mhm.
as far as like stories or writing, like I don't like to say that I'm like looking for the worst aspects in human beings, but when you write like post-apocalyptic, that like zombies are just like the backdrop for most post-apocalyptic stories. The real terror are human beings. Like with The Walking Dead, like zombies are important, but it's like it's Negan that's really messing up things, or it's like so. I like to dive in to show how a normal human being can kind of just unravel due to whatever situation they're in. And the news does help that because we're not even in a terrible situation and people aren't unraveling. So
That's true. Okay, so what's the most influential work of horror that you've read in the last 5 years?
that's that's kind of tough. I watch a lot of movies more than I do read. I do listen to audiobooks a lot, but I love Stephen King stuff, but they haven't been like out in the last 5 years. It's just I've just discovered them in the last 5 years. Like I finally got to um listen to The Shining, and I love that. It freaked me out for a little bit because I was working in a hotel at the time that I decided I wanted to listen to The Shining, so it wasn't good. And I wasn't like working in a hotel where I was around people all the time. I was normally by myself, going to empty rooms and everything. So it creeped me out a little bit. So I guess anything by Stephen King, mostly The Shining and It is has been some great things that I've listened to just the past 2 years.
So have you watched those movies because they adapted The Shining into the movie? I think that was
With Jack Nicholson and
Jack
yeah,
Nicholson.
I watched it. I watched it a long time ago, and I always thought, oh, it was an amazing movie, and it is. It's a good movie, but then when you like read the book, I was just like, that movie is trash compared to what the book is. The book was just it had so much in it, like it dove deeper into his son, which because ever since I've seen the movie, I just never really understood the aspect of the son. Like they never really like I understood that he could read minds and he was kind of like whatever, but they never really explained more. And in the book, they explained more about it, so it was good. I guess it's just one of those things where the book is better than the movie.
Well, that's always the case. The book is always better than the movie.
Yeah.
So, okay, since we talked about that, what do you have aspirations to have your books turned into movies?
I mean, that would be awesome. I don't think anyone like writes a book and be like, no, I would hate for it to be a movie. I think it'd be cool. It'd be cool for it to be a movie. I would like it. Like, I fan cast things. Like when I'm in the process of writing, I get like an actor and then I name them my character and I have pictures and stuff. So it keeps me going creatively. So I would love for it to be a movie. I mean, if anybody's looking to make Planet Dead a movie, they can call me. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about writing. What your writing habits? Where do you write? Do you write at home? Do you write on the couch? Do you write anywhere? Do you take your computer with you wherever you go? Because I'm a take my computer with me everywhere I go person.
Oh
So
yeah.
how do you? What are your writing habits? Where do you write? And then what are your goals? Do you have a specific word count that you try to hit, or do you try to write for a certain amount of hours a day? What are your writing habits?
Before I became full time, I used to have like Google Docs on my phone. I mean, I still do, but I'd write anywhere when I was at work. I'd write on my lunch break. I'd sneak away and I'd write. So I guess I would do it anywhere. But now that I'm writing full time, I have a home office, which this is it. It's the
Mhm.
corner of my son's room. So, and I try and wake up earlier than the rest of the family, and I come in here and then I'll write from probably like 8 to 1 or so. And sometimes I'm not writing, but as long as I'm in the computer chair, I feel like I've done my part so far. But I have a word count goal. My word count goal is 3,000 words a day. I don't always hit it.
That's a
So
lot.
sometimes between 8 and 1, I'll get like 1,500 done, and then I'll be on the couch on my phone with Google Docs and filling in for the rest of the day. But
Do
I I just try and make sure that I get what I need done, but I don't really take away from the family too much, because that's the hardest aspect of like writing at home. You feel like whenever you're trying to have like family time or you're just sitting down and you're hanging out, you feel like, well, I feel guilty. I feel like I should be writing and getting my book done versus sitting down and watching TV. So I feel like when I make a structure and be like, these are my writing hours, then if I don't get it done, I don't get it done. And then I go be dad and husband for the rest of the day.
Do you, when you're sitting down, like maybe you just stop writing or you not reached the goal that you want to reach? Because 3,000 words is a lot of words. That is an all-day process. Do you find inspiration in other things going on in your life? Maybe you turn on the TV or there's a movie or something that you like to watch or some music, because I like music. So is there something that you do that you find inspiration in so that you can continue writing?
Yeah, like I make playlists for like each of my books. So I guess I would really want them to be movies because I guess I made soundtracks and stuff. So, yeah, I make playlists and I'll turn it on in the background. I'll have Alexa play it and then I'll listen and I'll write and try and get in the mood of whatever that chapter is or whatever that character is. I'm trying to get inside their head. And as far as like inspiration, like me and my wife, like we're addicted to horror. So we watch a lot of horror movies and horror TV shows. And I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. Or they should have did this. Or I wish this would have happened. And that's kind of how things like percolate in my head when it comes to writing. Like I'll sit there and I'll think about it and I'll be like, if I was reading this or if I was watching this, what would I want to happen? And then sometimes I go that way, or sometimes I go like total left field and just throw
Mhm.
people off.
You talk about Alexa. Now that's scary for me. I don't know. I mean, I have Siri on my phone, and I know Siri is always listening because it's waiting for me to say, "Hey Siri." And it's the same with Alexa because you know when I
Yeah,
said, "Hey Siri," did you hear that? See
yeah.
what I'm saying? No, seriously. It's scary to me to have something always listening to
Hmm.
you. I know that there's a benefit to it because there was a story that was in the news
Oh,
recently where a young lady was saved because she screamed out to Alexa. Was it her husband?
yeah, her husband was attacking her or her boyfriend. I have no idea how Alexa calls the police. I'm not that advanced with my Alexa yet. So like when I heard that story, I was like, she could call people? Like what?
While I am very excited about technological advances, artificial intelligence kind of scares me a little bit because I think it can it's a little too invasive. I'm a
Hmm.
private person though.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little too invasive to have something always listening. I don't always have my phone with me.
Okay.
I may turn it off. I may put it in another room. I know there are plenty of times that people will say, "Hey, I called you," or "I sent you a text message," and I
Yeah.
may respond like an hour or so later or whatever because I don't always have my phone with me. And I think it's because I'm just like, I don't know if I'm just always wanting to have something listening to me, and maybe just a psychological thing. But
Okay.
Alexa's
No.
scared.
Well, she's cool. Like, I mean, in my head, I'm always just telling myself, well, I'm not doing anything. So if someone's listening to me, they're probably just hearing keyboards type anyway, because she's just in the office. And like, I love her because like I'm terrible with spelling sometimes. So I'll just be sitting there and I'll be like, Alexa, spell this or spell that. And she'll start, she's not answering right now because I unplugged her because she is way too sensitive.
Oh
If
well,
you
okay.
like, sometime this is our guest room, and one of my best friends, he was staying here, and I guess he was watching TV or something, and they said like Alex on the TV, and then Alexa was like, "How can I help you?" And he freaked out. He's like, "What the?" So
Wow.
yeah, but I mean, she's a great tool. I just use her for music and to play my audiobooks and spelling and things like that. But I mean, I understand like not wanting a device to listen to you and kind of invade your privacy. But then again, like I love the idea of like having a smart house and stuff, because I heard you could hook her up to your lights and stuff and be like, Alexa, turn off the lights or turn on the TV, and that'd be amazing to me because sometimes I don't want to get up. So
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind getting up. Any little thing I can do to get a little bit of exercise. So let's get back to your writing and your business, you as a person.
okay.
You talk about you how it was difficult um initially when you started with getting book covers done and those types of things. So what do you find your inspiration for your book covers, and do you do them yourself?
Oh no no no! The two covers that I have for Planet Dead, I got those professionally done by Raven Bourne book covers, and she did an amazing job. Like I I just explained what my characters looked like and the vibe that I wanted them to display, and then she went out and she put them together, and it was awesome. So I love the covers that she did. When I was first writing, I was like, oh, I need a book cover, like, because some people, like, I do it, like I'll like throw together a little book cover so I can just have something to look at, or I'll buy my book covers before I even start the story, so I have something to look at. I'll be like, well, this is what I'm writing towards. This is going to be the final project. And some people would love to do that, but like I've run into authors that are like, well, this is just a hobby, or this is a side project, or this is just a dream, and they don't have the funds to go and even buy $100 cover sometimes. So I just want to do things to help independent authors express themselves and put more eyes on their work without having to pay like $50 to Amazon, or buy a book bub or things like that. Like I noticed just from being in the independent community that a lot of, like, it's kind of weird to say because mine's is a business that popped up, but a lot of businesses pop up to just kind of pull funds away from creatives to, and I don't feel like it's all necessary. I just
I
don't want
agree.
people to go broke.
I agree with that too. You know, now we have social media, and so we as writers have so much that we have to try to do to get readers. You know, it's difficult now, so we have to constantly come up with creative ways to reach the audience. What I started doing was video book teasers. So I do them myself. And
Hmm.
the way that I started doing the video book teasers, I have a MacBook Pro, and I like to play around on my computer. Now, I say I don't like technology,
Uh,
I don't like AI, but I really truly do love technology. You know, I like technology I can control. But no, seriously, I play around with it, and I was able to start doing these videos. And of course, you're doing something and you don't know what you're doing. So I've been doing this for about a year at this point, and I play around with it all the time. I'm always playing around with my videos and trying to figure them and tweak them so that they can do what I want them to do. And I know that there are programs that have popped up that allow you to make videos, but I think there's a fee, and I just don't want to pay that fee for something that I can do myself.
yeah,
At this point, because like you said, when you're new to the business or when you're trying to grow and expand your audience, you have to be mindful of where you spend your dollars. So
that's very true.
I completely understand where you're coming from, and I commend you for coming up with a business that is cost effective for people who are not able to do those things, who are not able to create. Though, a lot of people are just, I'm a writer and that's it. They
Yeah,
don't have the ability to do all of the other things that will really help them expand. And so I commend you for coming up with a business that will assist, that won't break the bank.
yeah.
So
I
we'll
mean,
be looking forward to hearing more about that now.
yeah. The independent world, it's crazy how many hats you have to wear. You have to be a marketer, you have to be a writer, you have to be social, which is just something that, like, I know I'm, like, my wife says I'm really social, but I don't really like it. I don't really like talking to people sometimes, and it's kind of hard. I don't know, but I know it's hard like marketing your book, because like when I first wrote my book, I was like, oh, I got a book. And I'm like telling everybody. And then like a good 2-3 weeks into it, I was like, I don't think anybody cares that I wrote a book. Like my friends were just like, okay, well, that's nice.
You actually are in a great, I believe, a great genre because it's a horror genre. And you have a lot of people who are writers who write a lot of, who are coming out as writers and authors who have a lot of self help books, who have a lot of fiction books. You know, I'm a fiction writer.
Hmm.
And so I compete with a lot more than you would because your genre is kind of tight knit. So I
That's true.
think that yeah, I think it's wonderful that this is something that you're doing, and I think that you have nowhere to go but up.
I hope so.
So how do you create your characters? Do you come up with a background for them and then write your story around them? Do you see something that's and you say, "Oh, that's something I can write about," and then you just start writing? How do you come? What's your process? How do you come up with your characters?
I create a situation first, and then from that situation, characters are born, I guess. Like I'll be like, it would be crazy if you were trapped in some kind of circus during a zombie apocalypse and you're a kidnap victim. And from there, you need the kidnappers, and then you need the victims. And then overall, you need a strong victim that's going to overcome it. So that'll be your main character. And then I just keep going from there. And then once I have like the kind of like core of the story, then I'll backpedal and I'll start building the like personalities and the past of the characters. Like I know some people like to do what do you call it, like character boards or something. Like they'll break it down, and I used to like doing that, but then sometimes I feel like it just takes away from, like, I wrote this, like I'd sit down and I'd do it, and I'm like, okay, well, I know how she was when she was 16, but I still haven't written the book, so like, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But that's just how I do it. I start with the situation, and then I just build from there.
Yeah, I've never done a character board. I don't like, well, I'm not going to say I don't like it. I like for my stories to be organic. So
Yeah.
it seems like you are that same way. I feel like as you write the story and you see what's going on in your mind, it's easier to
Yes.
go back and say, okay, I need to put this here, and that there. And because it kind of seems when you come up with everything about your character, it seems forced. I like for my stories to flow, so it seems like that's the way that you like to go. And I know that's a little more difficult with you being in a horror genre. So tell me, okay, tell me what energizes you about writing in the horror genre. What is it that makes you just tick?
I mean, I've always loved horror, but for me, like the fundamental of horror is just survival. It's like I write most of my characters about like strong females, because growing up, that's what was in the horror genre. It was like Nancy versus Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers' sister. What was her name? I forget. Anyway, but it's about powerful women overcoming terrible situations, and that's that's just something I love. I feel like you can kind of do it in anything, but I also like the terror and dead bodies. I like people dying. That's just me.
When you're writing, do you have an accountability partner or an author friend that you consult with that will help you write a better paragraph or help you become a better writer in your genre?
I have a lot of author friends, because when you start the independent route, you make a lot of author friends. But I do have a critique partner, although we haven't touched base because she's in school and I'm in school. So we aside from writing, we don't find time to communicate about our writing. But I do have, like, me and my wife were working on a YA fantasy. So now I have a legitimate partner who's just sitting there, and it's so much easier. Like, like I thought it was gonna be really difficult. I was like, oh, this is gonna be terrible because we can't even agree upon what to eat sometimes. So I was like, oh, okay. But then like we're sitting there and we're coming up with names, and names are coming out real fast. Like our main character's name is Essence Marie Jones, and let me see. The mother's name is Olivia, and the dad's name's North. And that's because she was there to bounce off things, because when it's me by myself, I have a character named Sue, and that's it.
Yeah,
So
you came up with a whole. You have first, middle, and last
I
name
know
now.
it was all like, I was like, this was so easy. It takes like an hour for me to find a name. And then like I'll just leave it. I'll be like girl, and then she'll be girl for the whole paragraph until, or for the whole chapter until I can think of something. But
Okay.
yeah, she was sitting down with me, and we were pulling up names, and we named the high school, and we named where the girl lived, and I was like, this is amazing. So my wife might be co-authoring all my books from now on.
That's awesome. It's good to have somebody. See, she's your partner in life. That is
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Okay. So this is a question that I ask everybody. This is my last question for you.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, it's not my last question for you. This is my last author question for you.
Okay.
What does literary success look like to you? And I ask this question because literary success is different for everyone. Everyone has a different version of success. So, what does it look like for you?
Like it is different for everybody. Some people want to win awards. Some people want to just be the next J.K. Rowling or Rowling. But I I don't know. I would love for people to just, I don't know, think of my genre and then think of me. Like right now, like when you think of horror and you think of books, you think of Stephen King. So I would love for people to be like, oh, they think of zombies, then they think of Sylvester Barzey. And I feel like that would be amazing. It might be a little egotistical of me, but it's what I want to strive for. I just want to, I mean, I don't want to write zombies forever, but I want to make a mark. I want some person to who doesn't even read that much to pick up my book and be like, "Oh, I love this," and then continue on. Because that's how I was. I wasn't a big reader, but there were books that I loved that would make me go read another from that same author. So I guess that would make me feel like I was pretty successful.
Okay. So, oh, this is another question. Do you do anything else other than writing? Do you do blogs or guest writing for other people?
Um, I know I was just requested to do a short story guest blog post. I've never done that before, so I don't know. But I try blogs. Like I try blogs, but it's kind of like a journal, and I never keep up with my journal, so it's just bad. Like I think my blog's like 5 months past due right now or something.
It's I can't say that it's for everybody. I honestly, it's been difficult for me. I actually have to write, and then I may schedule it because I know that if I wait and say, hey, I have to do this for Wednesday, and I wait until Tuesday, it may not
Mhm.
happen. So if I'm thinking about it, I'll go ahead and write it out so I can schedule it, and then
Yeah.
it'll be there for that day. It's hard. It
Oh yeah.
is.
It is.
Yeah. And
I've been trying to get more into like video. Like I want to try and do a YouTube channel and stuff. Like my critique partner is trying to get me to do a YouTube channel or explaining. She does her own YouTube channel, and she's explaining to me how it all works, because that's a whole nother world, and I don't really like cameras, but I'm trying. So because I feel like is just like you said, like people want to see your face. And the fact, if they see the person behind the book, they're more prone to get connected to it. So, like I do live, or I used to do live author chats on Instagram, but then a lot of personal things came up, so I had to postpone it for a while, but I'm gonna get back to it next year. And it's just, I'll sit there and I'll read like a short story, and then I'll answer questions or I'll give out prizes, things like that.
That's awesome. I encourage you to continue to do that. Get that started again and
Yeah,
make sure that you connect with me. I mean, because I would love to see that and be a part of that.
definitely.
Now, we are at the segment where I open up the honey pot and I pull out something fantastic. You know, I usually try to pull out new music, but today I don't have any new music for you.
Hmm.
So, what we want to know is what's on your music playlist.
Uh, on my music playlist right now is Cardi B. She's on everyone's music playlist, I believe. Um, and Snow the Product. I used to listen to Snow the Product. Well, I just discovered her probably like a year or two ago, and I used to listen to her just casually. But now I listen to her a lot for my writing because book two has a main character who's Mexican, and there's Spanish flowing through the book every now and then. So it just kind of gets my head in the right space. And I listened to Mariana's Trench, which is a rock band from Canada. And they're like, I don't know how to explain them. They're kind of like Nickelback, except a little more sunshine, I guess. It's just like whenever I'm sad, I was just like, "Oh, Alexa, play Mariana Trench," and I'm just sitting there, like, "Yeah."
I like that you have a diverse playlist. That's
uh,
awesome.
yeah, I listen to a lot of different music. It's kind of weird. Like, I grew up in the Bronx, and my mom's from like Montserrat, which is a little small Caribbean island, but she listened to country. So I grew up on country. So it's kind of weird.
So you mentioned that your book has some Spanish in it. So are you fluent in Spanish?
No, I Google. I Google a lot. I have like my best friend in New York. He's Ecuadorian, so I'm gonna like pass the pages to him to be like, does this make sense to you? But
Okay.
yeah, I've been Googling a lot to try and make it, and then I finished the book, and I'm like going through the second read through, and now I just have to figure out a way to translate it without it looking like it's been translated or something. I don't know. It is complicated, or
Okay.
as probably is for me. It's probably not complicated for anyone.
It's good that you have someone that can read it for you, though, that can help make sure your translation is correct. So, do you speak any other language or just English?
Just English. I'm not skilled like that.
Me neither. I'm trying to get there, though. I want to learn Spanish.
I want to learn Spanish too. Like it took me forever, and like because I took Spanish in high school and junior high school, and it just went over my head. I had no idea what was going on, and then like it came to the senior year, my counselor was just like, "Listen, we're gonna take you out this class so you can graduate." I was just like, "Okay." Maybe I was just been lazy because like my sister moved to Puerto Rico and she learned Spanish. It was so weird. She'd stay up at night and just watch I Love Lucy in Spanish. And that's how she started gradually learning things. And now she's fluent in Spanish, and all her kids are fluent in Spanish because they live in Puerto Rico. So I have different avenues to learn. I just haven't done it.
All right, you better get on it.
Yeah.
If you're putting it in your book, that's something that you can eventually look into translations, you know, and then you tap into another market. So I definitely encourage that. Okay, well, we've come to the end of our interview, and
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. You've opened my eyes to a different genre that I actually never really looked into, other than like watching the movies or whatever. Now I have to
Yeah.
go read the book by
It was so good. Like everyone used to tell me that it was like this huge long book, and I was like, okay. So then when I started listening to it, I was just like, I love Stephen King, but I was like, I didn't need to know all this about this character. That doesn't need to be. He knows better than I do. So
Well, they like to set the tone, and one thing that I think it's changing in the literary world is the big companies. pretty much had like a word limit, 70, 80,000 words is a novel. And
Okay.
now it's not so much so, but I think at that time it was so that you could really develop your characters and the scene around it. And I
Yeah.
still kind of try to stick to that, but I'll go back and I'll say, hey, this is too much. I really didn't need that. I do want people to see what I see in my head,
Hmm.
but I don't have to tell every little detail, making it a little too much. But I think
Yeah.
that that's kind of why, because they had that word limit that they were trying to stick to, so they tend to get a little wordy at
Yeah.
times.
Like I try and do I try and keep my books pretty action paced. Like they normally take place within like some zombie books take place within like a month or two. Mine's is probably like 3 days or a day. So it's really fast paced. Everything's happening, and I like to fill in detail, but then I'll go through it and I'll be like, I don't think they care what this tree looks like, so I'll just like take that.
Well, I'll definitely get a copy of your books and leave you reviews, because people don't understand how important reviews are to authors.
That is
So
very true.
I will definitely do that. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and explaining to us a little bit about the horror genre, introducing yourself to this audience. We look forward to having you back and seeing more of you. Do you have any last words? And also tell people where they can find you on social media and your
Oh,
website.
okay. Well, if you are going to pick up the book, I'm having a sale on December 22nd, for all the people that didn't buy their gifts yet. So, Planet Dead will be 99 cents there, and you could like e-gift it to somebody. But people can find me at sylvesterbarzey.com, and on social media, on Instagram and Twitter, I'm sbarzey_author. And on Facebook, I am sbarzey author, because they don't let you do underscore on there. So
Okay, I'll make sure that I put those links in the description. And we are just so excited that you were here. I'll end our discussion with my Carmenism for today. And that is, despising you is their choice, destroying you isn't. All they need to have to despise you is ignorance. To destroy you, however, they need your permission. So don't give anyone permission today to
all right.
destroy you. Be the best you that you can be. Be unapologetic about who you are. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to the Honey Pot Podcast. I'm your host, Carmen Hendricks, author of When Honeysuckles Fall and 8 Moments. We had the wonderful Mr. Sylvester Barzey here today. Be sure to go to Amazon, look him up, pick up his books. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram using the handle at Honeypot Podcast. You can also find me at carmenhendricks.com. That does it for today's podcast. I'm putting the lid back on the pot. Thank you guys. Until next time. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks for having me.